Hi, I'm Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video, we are going to be going over messages from your animal spirit guides. I love animal spirit guides. They're one of my favorite spirit guides. Fun fact, you can be visited from a very large gamut of spirit guides. They could be angels. Some people believe in aliens being spirit guides. Some people believe in ambiguous light entities. And of course, there are totally animal spirit guides. But the thing is, they're all visiting you all the time. It just kind of depends on what, you're open to, your flavor, so to speak. And the reason why I love animal spirit guides is because, one, I have been visited by them multiple times. You can be visited by animal spirit guides in real life and in your dreams. But the thing that's so cool about animal spirit guides is animals have a way of expressing really complex concepts and beliefs in kind of wordless, speechless, simplistic ways. Have you ever had some sort of spiritual experience where words could not sum up, that sort of encounter? Some people describe this as when they have a deep connection with someone via love, but many people have experienced it with their own pets or even wildlife in general. Whatever it is, I think animal spirit guides hit a certain tone that is so unique and valuable. Another really cool thing about animal spirit guides is they will change and they will visit you so many different ways. One day it might be a deer, the next it's a wolf, because it just depends on what you need. And they sort of mirror whatever you need to experience or hear or feel in that moment. So that's where we're going to be going over today, and I'm very excited about it. But before we do, I wanted to take a moment to say, yesterday was my first day back after a little bit because of the break I told you about. And just, guys, you're so lovely. I am just continuously, I don't want to say surprised, but just always pleasantly happy to see such nice messages of warm wishes, wishing me to get better. I can't express my appreciation enough. Thank you so much. I really, I love you guys. You're so nice. And also, many of you showed an interest if I made some sort of manifestation video. I would be happy to make a manifestation video. The only thing is you kind of have to give me a second, because manifestation is something that I treasure deeply, and I want other people to be able to do it all the time and get a very high percentage rate of success. And it's not something, I want to be able to express it succinctly, understandably, and kind of fill in any sort of questions that you might have, like, well, why can't I manifest this time and I can this time? Or why isn't it working for me? Or what do I need to do? I want to cover all that. So if you do have any questions, feel free to leave it in this video and I'll, go over that in that video. But just give me a second to properly summarize, to express it in the best possible way. But thank you so much for showing an interest. I love it too. Anyways, as you can see, we have 4 groups in front of us. Let me know, or not let me know, I'm so sorry, I'm tripping over my words. Pick the group that resonates with you most. I was being told by my spirit guides that I should be using these crystals today. So let me give you a moment to do so. Now that you've picked the card group that speaks to you most, you can go down to the description for your timestamp so you can skip to that group. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1. Let's look at the messages from your animal spirit guides by looking at the cards. We have a gazelle, a lobster that is so cute, a porcupine, and your last one is a fox. I'll be honest with you, I think someone is trying to mess with you, and you're kind of gearing up to protect yourself from that. Yeah, there's two overarching themes I see here repeated in all the animal spirit guides. It's somebody's going to be messing with you, and you're being told to protect yourself in a certain way of how to handle it. But it also looks like there's some sort of like, I don't want to say rebirth kind of process for you, but some sort of cycle you need to kind of face and get into and then finally end, so it's no longer bothering you. Potentially these two problems might be intertwined for many of you. Oftentimes it is. Often we attract to ourselves subconsciously people who are kind of representations of things that we need to face, and we're kind of being forced by the universe to deal with it. Not always the funnest process, unfortunately, but it happens. Yeah, so let's get into this. You're definitely either currently right now being like bullied for whatever reason, or somebody, I just kind of get this feeling somebody's coming your way. Now, you're going to be okay, but you're definitely being warned about it. So, where do I start? Okay, so the gazelle. Gazelle's kind of interesting because it's a very speedy sort of animal, but its speed kind of has two conflicting messages that are both valid. On one hand, it's fun fact, the gazelle can actually run up to 60 miles per hour, which is really cool. And even though they're a little bit slower than cheetahs, which I think run up to 80 miles per hour, if I'm correct, cheetahs can only run in a straight line, while gazelles kind of have this really awesome zigzag pattern. So there's like really fast agility and alertness to when it comes to making decisions. And like the high priestess, they make all their decisions from their gut. So you're being asked to kind of act quickly. You're going to have to make decisions in the moment. It kind of almost sounds like somebody is going to be putting you in positions where you're not going to be expecting to be put in the spotlight and have to defend yourself or react quickly, but just go with your gut. Don't worry about it. This is kind of like a loving message to say everything's going well with you. It's not going to be the funnest process, but you'll be able to just kind of react in the moment and respond the way you would in your heart, and it will be the right one. Go with that. Be quick. The faster, the better to be able to handle it. And while the gazelle successfully dodges and gets away from the cheetah and makes those right decisions, and that's a really positive thing, it also is a bit of a warning to you can't avoid things forever, that it isn't the best decision to always run away or, use a quick excuse to get out of this situation. Eventually, you're going to need to face this problem head on. This will help you in the beginning in order to better understand who's kind of like attacking you and why they're doing it and defend yourself in the moment. But eventually you're going to need to face that, especially when we have the lobster over here that talks about regeneration and getting rid of the past and fighting old cycles. That talks about facing it. And interestingly enough, the porcupine talks about handling this problem by facing it head on. It's actually really interesting. You're going to notice some conflicting statements because it looks like your animal spirit guides are kind of battling out on which way they think that you need to handle the situation. But the thing is with the fox talks about adaptability, and the fox and the porcupine talk about handling this situation in two different ways. See, the lobster kind of visits you, just letting you know that you're going to be protected, and just talks about the general concept of protection. It's kind of like just a simplistic, loving animal spirit guide to say, hey, I'm here, I'm going to protect you, you're going to be okay. It's just kind of reassurance, just that's all. But these two have two different ways of handling the situation. And as you can see by the porcupine's expression, he does not necessarily agree with what the fox has to say, and the fox kind of is avoiding him in a very fox-like manner. So between these two different concepts going on, the fox says, when it comes to this person and the positions they're putting you in, avoid them. Stay in the background. Very much like the gazelle, run away. Do whatever you can to not gain their attention, so therefore you won't be picked on or put in a position. However, the porcupine's quite the opposite. In fact, they are all about identifying your fears and your vulnerabilities and facing it head on. In fact, you need to. Very similar to the lobster, in fact. And as you notice here, you're going to see how the concept of this person you're dealing with, and your regeneration process, your rebirthing, will simplify it as, starts to kind of melt together. Because the porcupine says, you're gonna, when they're picking on you, go right up to them and say, hey, stop it. I don't like that. You're like, let's talk about this. What's your problem? Why do you want to pick on me? Sometimes when you catch people off guard by not playing their games, it's the best way to kind of gain the upper hand. The best way to explain it is. And then over here, the lobster's all about getting really deep into your emotions. The more vulnerable, the more fear, the better. Because in order to overcome these cycles that you're dealing with, these repeating problems you've been avoiding for a while that are going to kind of eventually catch up to you in a way that probably at an inconvenient time you wouldn't like. You can prevent that. Don't worry, it's about facing them. It's because the lobster finds their home in the deepest part of the water. As you can see, we have a lot of water signs going on over here, which is really cool. But anyways, sorry, I'm trying to consolidate this information the best way possible. So it's a bit of both. You're going to at times want to hide away from this person and avoid them. Remember, you can trust your gut. You're going to know when to not want their attention. And other times, when it seems the scariest, that's kind of when you want to go up to them and just kind of call them out, even if you're shaking in your voice, because you will be surprised how much drama that saves you from by putting them in that position they won't be expecting, is the best way I can put it. Either way, the fox talks about adaptability when it comes to handling this situation. Both the gazelle and the fox talk about just being extremely alert, smart, very agile-minded and cunning and straightforward. But the fox also talks about sincerity. So it's not about being anybody but yourself and just saying, listen, why are you doing this? I don't want this. You don't want this. What's going on right now? Now, in addition to the message about that person, there's also a lot of happiness in here. So like I said, there's a bit of facing problems like we talked about, the sense of regeneration by ending old cycles, by digging deeper into your emotions. But there's also a lot of happiness here because the gazelle asks you to focus on optimism in your life, that now is the time to give it your full attention. Because the gazelle, unfortunately, lives a life where they don't know what's going to happen day to day. So they live each day, to their fullest. And so it's kind of very much coming from a mindset where you might be a little bit in fear or anxious or overthinking things right now at the moment, or maybe this situation is the thing making you kind of fearful of one moment to the next, like with a coworker, of like you're anticipating of them treating you poorly. And this is saying you got to stop giving that attention. You need to give all your attention to things that make you happy in life and put your attention there, because yes, there can always be that stress and that fear in the future, but why give that your focus and miss out on all that you can experience right now? You know how people talk about like living each day like it was your last? Now, I don't want to give it that sort of serious tone because that's not what's going to happen here, but you see what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Over here, the fox actually is really a beautiful animal. I wish more people got this because it's all about wisdom in, humor, jokes. Sometimes you can have a lot of fun and be silly and gain a lot of insight from yourself. Sometimes people make jokes when they're actually sincerely in pain. You can both best understand yourself and others, but also kind of have a good time in the way. It's like why sacrifice growing emotionally, like the lobster talks about, while missing out on the happy things in life. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Being really vulnerable, happiness, getting rid of the past. That's another thing, like the lobster. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. No, that's kind of it. Yeah. So really overall, wonderful messages from your animal spirit guides. As you can see, they're all kind of battling it out with how you should handle it. But remember, the way that they're interacting, they're all important. There's going to be times when you need to give one more one way of handling the situation more precedence over the other. But overall, you're going to be protected. You're going to make the right decisions. Your intuition's fine. Just follow it. Just don't second guess it and go with it. Be brave, and definitely look forward to these cycles that you don't even realize keep happening to you finally ending, because you're kind of diving into the nitty-gritty of your emotions and like you're asking yourself the tough questions. But don't forget to have a good time and have fun. Sometimes when this optimism card pops up, it's your very problem is very much what might as well be that you are giving so much attention to when people attack you, and you're not giving enough like you're giving them too much power is the best way I can put it. So I hope you enjoyed this reading as much as I enjoyed giving it. I love these new cards. They're so darn cute. And I just love animal spirit guides. They're sincerely my favorite. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's find out the messages from your animal spirit guides by looking at the cards. You have an owl. Well, technically humans would be considered mammals, but no, this is actually about your interaction with nature. And you know, animals are very much a definition of nature, but we'll get into that more. Don't worry, this is still, you know, on par. A fox. Oh wow, and a swan. Wow, my body's buzzing. An owl and a swan, wow. Look at this. Wow, you're going to be going through something, you know, you're going through it right now. Yeah, you're like in the beginning stages. Okay, wow, I'm so excited for you. So you're in, this is super magical and super spiritual, but this goes way beyond spirit guides. This is really intense. This is really cool. So let me get my thoughts together so I don't just keep repeating things. Okay, so you're going through a sort of, we'll just simplify it and say spiritual transformation, but this is like way above and beyond the normal human experience. And this does talk about an enhancement with your own abilities. We are talking also about, we can just simplify it and say psychic abilities, but we're talking about a much larger range here. You're going to experience things most people will never experience. This is like really amazing and magical. So let's get into this. Over here is kind of the most important card. It says so much. And even it being an ace is kind of the beginning of everything else and the main like map for you to help properly guide over to what's going on over here. So with an owl, this is so much more than wisdom and insight and intuition. It is those things, don't get me wrong. But see, the owl is quite amazing because this signifies that you're pretty open to and interested in what could be simplified as life's mysteries. When things start to kind of seem a little coincidental or too coincidental, when you start to notice synchronicities, when you want to ask the questions nobody else is willing to ask, you kind of can't help but be drawn to it without explanation. And what's so great about that is, one, it's a signifier that you are an old soul. You are interested in finding the best solution to whatever problems are, but not simplistically because you're just like a good person. This is more about understanding things in order to see its like unlock your greatest potential and abilities, not only within yourself, but the way you interact with the world. And again, this is so much further and bigger than self-improvement. This is like, we're talking like mystical qualities. We're going above and beyond here. This is really amazing. One of the important things to notice when you get the owl and when the owl pops up in your life is the owl is looking for clues that are small and seem insignificant. This is when you start to notice unusual patterns. And again, I'm simplifying it and saying synchronicities, but you are going to find answers in, think of these experiences you have, or whether you see plants popping up over and over again, whatever it is, as a form of like a language. And the universe is trying to speak to you, and you're trying to understand and connect to it and kind of ask the big question of like, what does it all mean? What is your purpose in all of this? But again, this goes so much further and beyond than like your goal and career. You know what I mean? We're getting really deep here. So it's about looking into these little minor things that would be kind of below everyone's radar and they wouldn't really give too much attention to. The fox actually also, in addition to that, says a lot of your key clues and information that are going to help you the most are going to be found in kind of the background, because the fox likes to stay in the background and finds a lot of answers and solace there. So again, always when people are talking, look in between their words. Even look behind them. Like, why are you at the location you're at? Start to ask those obscure questions, because something else is hidden there. And what you're experiencing now is just literally just the shell to the core of where you're meant to go and experience. Now, you need this in order to get the world. So what's really cool about this is going to suddenly be quite jarring for you, kind of like when people have existential crises. Normally people use that term in a negative way. That isn't, being existential is not a negative thing. It's like being able to see things kind of in a detached, greater, like outside of yourself mentality. And this is, you're going to feel this jarring sense of like, you thought the world was this way, huge jump and a leap, and then all of a sudden you're like on a whole different brainwave. It's going to be a huge experience. You're capable of it. You were meant to experience it, and you need to dive deep. I'm not kidding you. Go for it. So the World card talks about this giant leap, but it also talks about your interaction with nature. Again, a lot of information that you're looking for is out there beyond your current setting. So sometimes, I mean, I'm a huge believer that spirituality and deep questions we can ask for self or experiences can be found even in our bedroom. It does not matter. But in your case, you're going to want to travel in any which way you can, whether it be in a different neighborhood in your city, a town over, or if you're able to, go for a road trip. See if you can fly to a different country. Start expanding your world more and more and more, because it's almost this feeling of like there's something big out there that you need to see all of it to understand, oh wow, it's all connected, but I needed to see and experience the feeling of moving so far distance-wise from where I was at initially in order to be like, wow, it's all the same, like your brain to fully understand it's all connected. Does that make sense? But the biggest thing is your interaction with nature. You're going to need to spend a lot more time outside, a lot of understanding and looking at the leaves and starting to notice the fractal patterns in the branches. You're going to want to start asking and looking up some pretty weird stuff. If you ever want me to make a video about that, I'd be happy to. It's just really cool topics that you were meant to experience. But anyways, going on from that interaction with the world, we have the fox. Now the fox and the swan are kind of interacting in a pretty unique way. They both talk about psychic abilities. Now, the swan can actually talk about, seeing into the future, actually, interestingly enough, but above anything, it's about intuition, while the fox is just straight up about psychic abilities. So psychic abilities are a very broad term. You have to understand, being able to do things or experience things other people normally aren't able to, it's so subjective from person to person. Some people have prophetic dreams. Some people are able to kind of just be around someone and just see or experience things that they have no explanation of why they can. I'm not even naming everything that there is potential for. I mean, some people can astral project to different dimensions. We're going crazy here. So the point I'm trying to say is this is a very small term for something very large you're going to be experiencing. And as you can see, we need this key knowledge and understanding of this sort of language and start noticing things in order to ask these questions, these experiences in order to fully understand them and have them mentally connect in that way, kind of like hands-on life experience. And then as these all start to come together, so does these abilities start to naturally bloom. They're within you. You're meant to experience them. There's something really special about you. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you are beyond an old soul. This is like people can ascend and not have these abilities. You're something else. And I say that in the highest compliment possible. I think these people are very cool. So yay, you for being one of these people. But like I said, we talked about stuff hidden in the background and stuff like that. The swan, though, she also talks about intuition, very much a lot of answers found within the vibe of going with the flow, like with water signs and femininity, and a lot of power with that. But then we have this interesting thing going on here, this sort of interesting interaction. It's almost like they're avoiding each other, which is kind of, again, so fox and swan. Because the thing is, this is kind of extending off of the idea of your abilities, but this goes on to a little bit of a branching off onto another subject and a message from your spirit guides. See, the fox is all about like playing it safe and kind of watching things from a distance. And that is something you will need to do. Like, I wouldn't go around telling people about what you're going through. You would want to find select people to trust who are going to be on the same kind of like mindset as you are, if that makes sense. But the swan is all about taking that internal, special, unique part of yourself that's beautiful and, you know, elegant, and really just showing it off to everybody, not out of ego, but not prohibiting themselves from being themselves fully, and really kind of saying, yes, I am beautiful, and taking sort of ownership in a very relaxed and kind of powerful kind of way. You can see why they would kind of look away from each other, because they don't necessarily have the same agreement of how you're going to express yourself. I just think it's really interesting when these sort of kind of dynamics pop up, because each animal spirit guide is kind of a signifier for one whole idea, if that makes sense. So of course they think their idea is the best, but the way they're interacting, you're going to need to understand it's a little bit of both. At times you're going to want to shine and show off this sort of magnetism and mystical quality you're starting to develop and understand better. And other times you're going to want to just kind of let it go in the background. The best way I can explain it is you're going to want to kind of be a somebody out of kind of like a magical book, and you're kind of the all-knowing sort of quiet magical leader is the best way I can put it. There's a certain power and stoicness to you, and you're not afraid to speak up and be your full self, but you don't need to be the center of attention all the time. I think this will bring you the greatest sense of happiness and confidence, and most of all, keep you mostly focused on your path rather than the ego of showing off. Not that I think that you would personally be interested in getting swept up in the ego of being so prideful of whatever you've accomplished, but it's not about having ego or not having or having it or not having ego. It's about like fulfilling this like crazy life journey you were meant to experience, which is really cool, and you're kind of awakening to. So yeah, just a lot of peace, a lot of nature, a lot of hidden, unexplainable messages in the foreground of life. It's going to get kind of crazy in the best possible way. It's going to get very unique, very existential, and I'm just really excited for you and your journey, and I hope you are too. Definitely start asking those questions. Trust me, they're out there. I hope you enjoyed this reading as much as I enjoyed giving it. I love these readings, and I did not expect such a wonderful, powerful I mean, being you to come through. So very, very, very cool. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Anyways, please give this video a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed it as much as I did. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a beautiful day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's look at messages from your animal spirit guides by looking at the cards. We have a griffin. Okay, we're getting a little mystical here. That's okay, it still counts. It's still an animal spirit guide. Oh, an armadillo. Oh, a koala. And what else? That's a lynx. I can tell by the ears. I love lynxes. They are highly underrated, wonderful cats. Anyways, so let's look at what's going on here. You know, every single card implies this concept of a new beginning, but your individual spirit guides don't actually talk about any concept of rebirth, regeneration, ending of a cycle, none of that. But there's this feeling of something new, this like new phase in your life. And it's even more ambiance and sort of, how do I put this? Harder to put into words because it almost feels like you're a quasi leader, like a spiritual leader or something like that. Like you have the potential to help other people in that kind of way. But at the same time, none of these cards talk about you wanting to lead or you having the purpose to. So it's almost like a background vibe of you positively influencing people without being the main person in charge, if that makes sense. But it's kind of just a very unique message I had not, didn't know was going to be coming out. So let's get into like what all of this means for you. So over here we have the griffin. Now, the griffin is a pretty magical looking card. And like I said, you're well, I haven't said this yet. You're very magical. There's a magical element going on here. We can actually even see that in just the way the lynx is drawn over here. But the thing that's going on that's so unique with the griffin is the griffin pops up right before you're about to enter a stage of enlightenment, which is kind of, well, crazy. Like that's like next level, but it talks about divine power. But divine power is just so abstract. It could be anything. It could be like your deep level to go into meditation. It can talk about meditation. It can talk about your connection with spirit guides. It's quite more nuanced. I just want to keep it very open-minded for you, so as you're like kind of figuring yourself out, you can understand that there's a lot of options for you. It's not one way, but this is quite an epic animal spirit guide to get, which I'm very happy that you got, because let's just say it's not something I see very often. Or if ever, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'll just be honest with you and say that. So anyways, the griffin is really unique, especially showing up right next to the armadillo, because both of these cards talk about protection. So it's like you're going into something and you're being told by your animal spirit guides, you need to protect yourself. But what's so unique here is the griffin almost has a sort of offensive tone to it. Like it's like you could do something to someone else, if that makes sense. But the griffin does not ask you to attack anyone, not at all. And I do want to clarify something here. This is not about a spiritual awakening. This implies you've always had it in you. Definitely shows up for old souls, to say the least. But this is more of you being aware that it's always been there, that you've always seemed to have some sort of, we'll just say, unique effect on people, especially when I see the lynx card going on over here. You just have some sort of way of like understanding people without fully explaining why you come to certain conclusions, if that makes sense. We'll get more into that over here. So this is something that you already have. It's just being aware of it. This is kind of like your friend that's like, yes, me too. I also have this power. Let's be powerful together. But going back to the protection concept over here, see, the armadillo is telling you to have protection more in a defensive nature. Like I said, this is offensive in nature, but it's not asking you to attack anyone. This is saying that your power is going to be by setting boundaries with people. This is really, really important for you to understand, because you're going to be, especially when I see the links over here, you're going to be connecting to others. It's really important to make sure that you keep your quote unquote power in place by saying, hey, I'm connecting to you, but this is my limit. Don't come in my circle. This is as close as you're going to get to me, because by keeping certain things to yourself, especially with the links talking about like shyness and stuff like that, that's going to be your strength, so to speak. In addition to we talked about establishing boundaries and stuff like that, the armadillo is great for people who have like lost their way in life. Again, do you see what I'm saying when I say it's like quasi sort of spiritual leader vibe kind of thing? But it almost has this tone where it's like you've lost your way in life and you're figuring it out and you're being guided back. And by learning your own way of figuring out your life, you're then sharing that with other people, if that makes sense. But continuing forward, when we talk about protection and taking care of yourself, at the same note, while that seems really kind of like off-putting and kind of hiding yourself from people, that's not the way at all that you're meant to go. This is just protection to keep you kind of at your full power and charge, so to speak. Over here with the little koala, this talks about when you engage with people, it's about taking your time. So don't answer right away. You want to be smart. You want to allow the silence and the space between answering between questions to give your brain time to gain more insight. Speed is not your answer here. In fact, the slower the better. In fact, tell people you'll tell them what you think 2 days from now. You know what I mean? And the thing that's really interesting about the koala is it's about being underestimated too. So again, there's just this weird feeling of power and leadership hidden behind you, but none of these cards say you're going to be a leader or leading anybody. It's just you're going to constantly, people are going to think of you one way, and then you're going to kind of defy their expectations with your power and your insight, and they're going to start to come to you more and more for that. There's a sense of confidence behind it, but like I said, this goes way beyond and is so much more abstract than you gaining confidence. This is deeply spiritual and so much more next level, which is really cool, and I'm so happy for you. Actually, fun fact about the koala, when we talked about underestimating, as cute and cuddly as koalas appear, they can actually, with just a single bite of your arm, just bite through your bones and your muscles like butter. It's quite graphic and gross. Fun fact, so definitely talk about underestimating them. Now, going forward, we have the lynx. The lynx is somebody who is, they talk about like being very straightforward and being very honest. So it's not about, kind of sugarcoating the truth at all. Again, it feels like people are coming to you for what you naturally have, and you're telling them what it is without any hidden agenda. When people come to you for this sort of like clarity or advice or understanding about something that you naturally have, they are finally ready to hear it open and honestly. So again, it's not about being mean. I wouldn't accuse you of being mean. It's just simply about being kind of, see, like I said, I almost wonder if you're a really important stepping ladder for other people. Yeah, it just, because like spirit guides keep showing me ladders. and I'm not saying that you're not, it's just almost like you're already there, but you're an important figure in other people's lives for them to grow and improve. But how can you grow and improve or keep being the best version of yourself if you don't protect yourself? Does this all make sense? I feel like it's all coming full circle now when I see the links and I'm like thinking about that and everything like that. But something important to note about the links, and this is one of the most important things in the spread, is the links talks about how you have the capability of getting really deep into people's like being. You're able to connect to them on a deep level, you're able to understand them on a deep level, and we're talking like in a very inexplainable way that they'll not have with anyone else. Sometimes when we connect to people like this, they mistake it for love or a deeper connection that you might not feel back for them. And while you're happy to share that connection and help them understand themselves, that's where the boundaries come in. You know, you want to kind of say, listen, please back off. You know, I have to protect myself, so on and so forth, because they might want to naturally have a little piece of your divine power. So that's something really important to know. Like I said, really above and beyond the idea of confidence and spiritual awakening, it's so much more powerful and abstract than that. You seem quite mystical. You're very important in life and in other people's lives. And this is kind of like letting you know that, but also teaching you some skills to both keep that in alignment and not allow people to take that from you. And also to understand that, like, if anyone ever makes you feel self-conscious about being pretty straight up and honest and going there, so to speak, like getting into people's deeper emotions very easily, don't. You were meant to, they want it, you're bettering people's lives by doing so. So like I said, really so cool. Like I said, animal spirit guides are so much more deeper than just purely like talking about self-love and transformation. Like I said, animal spirit guides will go there. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this reading as much as I enjoyed giving it. I just love these so much. I might even do this again. I love animal spirit guides so much. Either way, please consider giving this video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4, let's talk about messages from your animal spirit guides by looking at the cards. So we have a seal. Yes, this is a seal. Seals and sea lions are different. This is a seal. Very cute seal, may I add. A goose! Oh no, a goose going through the gigs. This is not negative the way the goose looks, it's just a goose, but I just think this is really funny. Okay, we have the star and the moon. Okay, so, oh, that's so funny. Okay, so I'm gonna pull some more cards so you get the full 4 animal spirit guides, but I do want to note how funny these two are. Well, I guess, you know, there's no coincidences. These are pretty on the nose for what these are saying, so it's just kind of like making the message pretty clear and succinct. But the thing is, you know, everyone else got 4 animal spirit guides. You deserve it too, so just give me a second to pull some more cards. Unicorn. Yeah, the message is getting, at this point, redundantly repeated over and over and over again. Is this a... Okay, a lizard. Okay, I was just making sure it wasn't an alligator. Yep, so this is just kind of getting repeated time and time and time again. That's interesting. The lizard actually goes really well with the goose. So this is, I say this time and time again, but I absolutely love when the cards and tarot are just pretty straightforward, to the point that it's kind of hilarious. Like the message cannot be interpreted any other way. That's my favorite. There's not as much to say about the subject because it's more simplistic, but we all love when things are straightforward. I don't know if you're like that, like me, but anyway, so let's get into this. So this is the most important card, the seal. The seal is about creativity and imagination, but there's something really important about the seal and an important message for you. So the seal pops up when it's saying, moving forward now in life, you are going to need to be and want to be guided by your talents and abilities. So whatever you're good at in life, whatever you want to, your dream come true, most of us want this to become our career. You're going to want that to now guide you moving forward. Whatever decision you make, it's going to be, well, if I live here, will this help my dreams come true? If I talk to this person, will this help my dreams come true? Whatever it is about, all decisions moving forward right now at the moment need to be guided by this. If you're already doing this right now, you're good to go. Keep doing it. You're making the right decisions. This is what you're meant to do right now, making your dreams come true. And that is a really positive, happy thing going on. It's like a really great confirmation everything's going to work out great in your favor, and that not everyone can say that. So let's go into this. So in addition to this talking about creativity and imagination, that gets kind of repeated over here with the star card. The star card is about, again, imagination, creativity, but it also talks about your path in life, and it's a big thumbs up that, like, you're doing it, you're doing a great job, you're on the right road, keep doing what you're doing, like, you're destiny filled right now. It's kind of like when people feel it's their ultimate destiny to do whatever their career they're on. Well, guess what? It is yours, and you're doing the right thing. The unicorn is actually very wonderfully redundant because, again, it talks about making your dreams come true. It talks about, like, your inner power, just the sense of, like, wonder and making the impossible happen. So it makes me feel like your dream is definitely maybe out of the norm. Maybe you would like to become an actor or do some sort of profession many other people say there's a slim chance of you being able to make it. Well, guess what? Not for you. You're going to make it happen, and I'm really excited to tell you that. But something really interesting with the seal, which is kind of like a side note from the creativity and imagination that gets repeated here in the moon card, is it talks about your being aware of your dreams. Especially when I have the moon card here, this pops up when I'm connecting to people that are not fully aware of how prophetic their dreams are. Sometimes when we dream, it just means nothing. Yours often predict the future more than you're aware of and have a lot better insight from whether it be your internal subconscious or when your spirit guides are talking to you or whatever is going on in your brain. There's a lot of really intense and helpful information there above average compared to other people. You really need to start carrying a dream journal. And if you're saying, well, I forget my dreams in the morning, the ability and the habit you want to start picking up is writing them the second you're half awake, even if it's just a bunch of keywords and scribbles. You want to start to remember your dreams and understand your own personal dream language and just start to realize that you're your own personal compass and not everyone has this ability. Use it to your benefit. It's really positive. And in addition to following your talents and your dreams, you're going to kind of be sailing through life in an almost dreamlike way. So definitely take advantage of it. Now, the goose is kind of so appropriately paired with the Tower card because the goose spirit guide pops up when something abrupt is going to be happening, a big change. So it looks like this dream that's going to be kind of falling into your lap, so to speak, is going to involve a big change. Now, the Tower card, everyone seems to be very afraid of this card. Nothing bad about it at all. Yes, it can pop up when there is something scary, but it often pops up when there's something really positive because the Tower card is just about when you have a big change that happens in your life that mixes up your day-to-day. I mean, you could meet the love of your life tomorrow and that could dramatically change your daily schedule. That's not a bad change. Or you get an opportunity to move to LA to become an actor. Like, do you see what I'm saying? These are really positive, dramatic changes. So it looks like you're being told there's going to be a dramatic change, but you're also being told to just be kind of fearless and brave. I mean, I think if you've ever had an encounter with a goose, they don't care. They don't care how tall and big you are or their own abilities. They're going to go after you. So this is about kind of stepping into this new role and destiny-filled path you're going down with intense bravery. But it also talks about forging your own path. So there's almost it's implying that not everyone's going to agree with what you're going to be doing, but that you don't need to have other people agree, that you can kind of take internal pride and also have this certain sense of like, yes, I know I'm meant to be doing this. The goose card, as silly as an animal as it seems, it shows up when you're doing something filled with purpose. So this again goes beyond just somebody who has something they really like to do and they want to make it their career. This is your life's purpose. It's extremely special and important, as we talked about. We covered the unicorn. We talked about how talks about your dreams coming true and stuff like that. But with this abrupt change, you're being given a little bit of advice with the lizard popping up here. See, the lizard also talks about imagination, creativity, like we talked about, but something that's so imaginative about them beyond the concept of just creative expression is the lizard pops up when you need to be able to react to things kind of in almost, I don't want to say a sneaky way, we'll say like being able to be very adaptable to change in like a crafty way in order to thrive. So you're going to need to make a lot of decisions on the fly. You're going to need to put yourselves in a lot of positions that you maybe wouldn't normally, like you're not going to get that reassurance you would normally like to have, but this is how you're going to climb up in your dream very quickly. It's like, again, I'm just using the actor concept as an example, but imagine if you're working a catering job and you're given an opportunity to go to a party and you're thinking, well, I don't know if I'm good enough to go to the party, or I don't know if I have a good enough outfit. Just go. Don't worry about it. Just go. And then somebody starts asking you at the party, oh, have you acted in something? Do you want to be in this acting gig? Don't sit there and doubt yourself. Just be brave. Just go into it. Just be like, yeah. And just trust that, again, I'm just using acting as an example. You're going to have to, with every gig, kind of learn as you go. So you might as well just jump into it, work it to your advantage, and realize as you jump into these unexpected situations and kind of are, again, creative about how you kind of get into them. Again, it's not about sneakiness, it's about craftiness. You're going to really thrive and just do really well. So overall, your dreams are going to come true. Pay attention to your actual dreams, not just your talents and abilities. Allow all your decisions to be made based on this kind of career. Again, I'm using career as an example, but most of us use our true purpose as our career, if that makes sense. Let it decide all your decisions. Understand there is going to be some abrupt changes, but they're going to be good. Work with them, use them to your advantage. Just have a great time. You're definitely following your destiny. And like I said, not everyone can say that. So I'm very happy and excited for all your dreams to come true. Like this beautiful little baby, this little derpy looking animal over here. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the video like you would not believe. Either way, have a beautiful day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And yeah, bye!